Hi, this is Suzi, Dafnis and Kat Matson coming to you from South by Southwest Interactive in Austin, Texas. One of the great things about this festival, or the music or film festival that happens about the same time, is star spotting, Kat.
I know. It's funny, because a lot of the celebrities are American based, I kind of go, oh yeah, I don't really know who we're talking about. But I did get to see Kevin Bacon, and I proudly can say that I'm now 1 degree from Kevin Bacon. So this year marks the 20th anniversary of that ridiculous game, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. And for those who aren't familiar, it's that notion of any actor or celebrity could be traced back to Kevin Bacon with less than 6 steps. So the panel discussion featured Kevin Bacon, but also one of the college guys who actually came up with this game all those years ago. It was a really funny conversation for a whole lot of reasons, but what I actually really liked about it, apart from being in the same room as Kevin Bacon, did you get that, was the notion that at first Bacon was really annoyed by the notion of this game. He thought that they were having a go at him. But in the end, he actually realised that there was some really good power in it and some really good leverage. And he actually realised that it was a nice reminder of just how connected we all are as human beings on the planet. And he's created a foundation, a charitable organisation called 6degrees.org, which over the last few years has raised over $5 million for over 4,000 charities by doing fundraising in creative ways. It was just breathtaking. And, you know, as always with South by, it was one of those sessions that I just sat there and went, oh, that is different thinking, that is changing how we do things. So I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. And yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy being able to see. He basically took a Vine video of all of us in the audience and says, now you're all 1 degree from Kevin Bacon. So that's kind of cool.
For those who don't know a lot about this conference, you would think, well, why is Kevin Bacon at a conference about interactive and social media? But, you know, that game was like an initial example of something going social and something going viral, and it was 20 years ago when we didn't even have the platforms we have now.
That's right. It's that social media before we had social media platforms. And actually one of the other panellists, Felicia Day, who is the star of The Guild, which is a TV series that she developed entirely on YouTube, she actually reminded us that, you know, it is that notion of all social media has done in terms of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, has just amplified the fact that we are all connected and that we want to be connected, and has made it easier for us to be connected on a bigger scale, on a global scale. But it still just comes back to a fundamental human desire to be connected. And again, the theme was to remind us of the power of that connection and actually doing good with it, rather than just, you know, what did we have for lunch today?
One of the other people that was here was Seth Meyers, and he has just taken over from Jimmy Fallon as the late night.
I've heard of Jimmy Fallon.
You've heard of Jimmy? Well, I'm a big fan of late night television and American late night television, and so Seth Meyers and his executive producer, who also produced The Fallon Show, and Olivia Munn were on a panel. She was interviewing him about the show, and they were doing behind the scenes, how they put the show together, how they find their writers, lots of Q&A with the audience about the industry. And one of the things that he mentioned that I thought was fabulous was that a lot of the hiring that they're doing of writers, they're checking out their Twitter profiles. And he said, if you're on Twitter and you're funny and you post regularly, then you're going to have a better chance than if I go online and look for you and you rarely post and you're not that funny, even though you may put in a good submission with your job application. And I never thought of Twitter as a recruitment tool, and certainly not for the entertainment industry.
I love that, because if you can be funny and witty on Twitter in your everyday interactions, then of course you're going to be able to easily write good comedy, particularly for those kind of programs where they need to be topical and witty on today's topics, not something that you've thought about for months. From it, like sometimes it happens in a stand-up routine. So I love that notion of, if you're looking for a job in that area, be funny on Twitter. But for me, it actually comes back down to be authentic on Twitter, and it will lead you into whatever area that you want to be in. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Now, I know Shaquille O'Neal is coming up. We haven't seen him yet, but is there anyone else you've seen that you want to mention?
I'm just thinking, what will that look like when we do see Shaquille O'Neal? Who else do I want to mention? Oh my goodness! Now this is a guy who I actually hadn't heard of until yesterday, but I'm quite happy to say he was another geek crush that I have publicly announced on Twitter. For the others, you need to check out the Twitter stream. So this guy, Dr. Neil DeGrasse Tyson, and I am going to keep forgetting his name, Dr. Neil DeGrasse Tyson. He is the host of a TV show called Cosmos, which is based on the original Carl Sagan series or concepts. Now, Carl Sagan for anyone who's ever followed any kind of science fiction would know his name. So Carl Sagan was actually the author of the book Contact, which became a Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster movie. I'm exposing some of my sci-fi geekness now. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, this TV show obviously explores science and makes it accessible and makes it real. He was phenomenal yesterday, and his TV show has actually just been picked up pretty much worldwide. It's the largest worldwide distribution of any TV show in the history of the world, out through the National Geographic Channel. So look out for it at home. It is coming to Australia, or wherever else you're watching this video from. What did I love about him? He was funny, he was witty, he was insightful, he was able to make extraordinarily complicated topics very simple and understandable. He was an astrophysicist, and I think one of my tweets was, I wish I could tweet more about what this guy is saying, but trying to capture the astrophysicist's thoughts into 140 characters was just untweetable. But he was just phenomenal.
Some of the things that he was saying about questioning everything, I wanted to let our people who are watching know, was that, so often we just take what's told to us as the truth. Yeah. And his thing was encourage your children to question everything, and explore and stay inquisitive.
Yeah, exactly. And even he recounted the story of what he did with his daughter when it came to losing her first tooth. And he said, some people have told me that there might be this thing called a tooth fairy. So he actually never told her that there was, but let her discover it for herself. And it was quite a cute story and a good reminder to encourage that creativity and that questioning, and also to encourage kids to keep questioning and exploring their world through science. Let them play with the eggs, drop them, see what happens, and go, oh, there's all these different things on the floor, rather than be careful, don't do it, don't experiment, don't explore your world. It was a phenomenal conversation.
We'll put a link to our show notes for I've forgotten his name already.
Yeah, Dr. Neil
DeGrasse Tyson, because he's not a name that you might be familiar with, but his work is extraordinary, and as is the work of many of the people that we're seeing. I'm sure there'll be more stars to report back on. We're coming to you live from South by Southwest Interactive.